her, not necessarily the show.
Well, it puts her in a box. Whatever we say puts her in a box.
Although the Bachelor and Bachelorette franchises are supposed to revolve around love, it's the usual orchestrated drama that gets fans to come back for more. And it would seem as if this time things have gone a little too far, with former Bachelorette Rachael Lindsay being forced to deactivate her Instagram account due to massive backlash from those in the Bachelor Nation. But what started the harassment she has been receiving, and how do the other stars of the Bachelor Nation feel about her being pushed off social media? Well, whether you're a fan of the show or just want to know more about the situation that has exploded out of control, you've come to the right place, as we're about to explore everything there is to know about the dramatic exit of Rachael Lindsay from Instagram. So strap yourselves in and get ready for the final rose, as things are about to get juicy. But before we get into the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Where it all started. Fans of the dramatic dating franchise will know that besides hosting either iterations, Chris Harrison has also taken to holding interviews throughout the duration of the seasons to get previous stars of Bachelor Nation to comment on what they have thought so far. This is a great way to drum up support for whatever is happening in a specific season, and has actually resulted in quite a bump in viewership, with everyone tuning in to see what their favorites from previous seasons think of what they are currently watching. This did, however, blow up a few weeks ago when Chris Harrison chose to have Rachael Lindsay sit beside him and discuss the 25th season of The Bachelor. For those of you who aren't quite clued up to the season, it involves the search for love of 28-year-old Matt James, who's both a real estate broker and a charity founder in his hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina. Something that needs to be said though, for reasons that will become obvious later, is that Matt is also of African descent. Him being chosen for the position of Bachelor was thus a big deal for the Bachelor Nation, which has always been criticized for choosing white contestants over and above those from minority groups. The interview started off pretty well, with the 35-year-old former Bachelorette recapping the show with Harrison. Things started to turn when she mentioned one of the contestants, Rachael Kirkconnell, who ended up making it to the final 4 episode, clearly showing that she had won over Matt's heart. The reason why the situation became a bit dicey is because recently Kirkconnell came under fire for actions she had taken a few years before coming onto the show. What are these actions, you might ask? Well, it turns out she had liked a few racially charged posts with her Instagram account and ended up attending an Old South party back in 2018. When asked about what he thought about the scenario, Harrison said, "We all need to have a little grace, a little understanding, a little compassion, because I've seen stuff online, the judge, jury, executioner thing where people are just tearing this girl's life apart and diving into like her parents' voting record. I haven't heard Rachael speak on this yet. Until I actually hear this woman have a chance to speak, who am I to say any of this?" But Rachael wasn't having any of this, stating that Kirkconnell has clearly had the time to speak out, with the situation turning spicy around 6 weeks ago. It's at this point that Chris Harrison went on full offensive, protecting the show and defending Kirkconnell by saying, "Who is Rachael Lindsay and who is Chris Harrison? And who is whatever woke police person out there? Who are you to tell her to speak out? I've heard this a lot. I think she should, or I think he should. Who are you? Who are you to demand that?" Suffice it to say, the interview took on a feeling of awkwardness and ended abruptly without any further discussion on the matter at hand. We have a feeling that Rachael overstepped her bounds and discussed this topic after being explicitly asked not to, hence the reaction from Harrison. But that being said, there has been no evidence to support that theory as of today. The backlash against Chris. The damage had, however, been already done, with the interview being followed by a number of reactions from both stars of the franchise and members of the Bachelor Nation, who have been known to be pretty vocal in the past. Rachael Lindsay has also spoken out about the interview on numerous occasions now, revealing that she actually wants to step away from the franchise in general because of their lackluster approach to and defense of Kirkconnell. Discussing the interview 3 days later on her own Higher Learning podcast, I wasn't shocked at what he said. I'm just shocked that he said it on camera. As far as me, I am tired. I'm exhausted. I've truly had enough. How much more do I want to be affiliated with this? How much more can I take of things like this? I said I was going to leave if they didn't have leads of color. Okay, they did that. They made some other changes. They hired a diversity consultant. I'm confused as to how you could have whole consultants working for you, yet what happened just happened. It's clear that Lindsay has an emotional reaction to Harrison's explosion on set, which resulted in him apologizing a few days later following backlash from fans of Bachelor Nation. After being published on Instagram, his apology read, "To my Bachelor Nation, I will always own a mistake when I make one. So here I am to extend a sincere apology. I have this incredible platform to speak about love, and yesterday I took a stance on topics which I should have been better informed. While I do not speak for Rachael Kirkconnell, my intention was simply to ask for grace and offering her an opportunity to speak on her own behalf. What I now realize I've now done is cause harm by wrongly speaking in a manner that perpetuates racism, and for that I am deeply sorry." Harrison went on to apologize to Lindsay directly, stating that he had clearly not listened to her concerns and should have done so to get a better understanding of what being accountable means. This wasn't the end of things though, with Rachael herself apologizing for her own actions the following day by posting the following statements on Instagram. "At one point I didn't recognize how offensive and racist my comments were, but that doesn't excuse them. My age or when in habit does not excuse anything. They're not acceptable or okay in any sense. I was ignorant, but my ignorance was racist. I'm sorry to the communities and individuals that my actions harmed and offended. I am ashamed about my lack of education, but it is no one's responsibility to educate me. Since his own apology, Chris Harrison has also stepped aside from the final rose proceeding, which marks the first time he has ever been absent from the show's franchise. Lindsay noted there was never intention to have Chris Harrison step aside, but that it was important to further highlight these discussions about race so that everyone can understand how implicitly racist the society we live in can be. Rumor actually has it that Rachael will be actually taking Harrison's place during the final rose ceremony, but this has yet to be confirmed by sources. The backlash against Rachael. Rachael wasn't left untouched by Bachelor Nation though, who has expressed having grown tired of constantly having race brought up in the context of the franchise. It seems like the show really can't win in the broader spectrum of things. African leads and other minorities are being introduced, but the show should never control the hearts of the contestants, and thus can, without some deception, ensure that these minorities stay as long as possible. Matt James himself, being an African American, ended up choosing Rachael Kirkconnell to be in his final four because of who he knows her to be. The things she did when she was 18 never faced him before the outcry from the public, but things might not be as simple anymore. That being said, feeling frustrated doesn't give fans of the franchise the permission to speak out about Rachael and criticize her with hateful comments on Instagram, which is essentially what they ended up doing. Comments took on a pretty hurtful and racist nature, accusing the former Bachelorette of drumming up drama so her podcast could succeed. She was also accused of targeting Chris Harrison so she could take his place on the show, and it would seem as if Rachael couldn't really stand up to the heat of the position she had taken on the subject, deleting her Instagram account and result of the criticism and hate she was receiving online. The reaction from other Bachelor Nation stars. The first to speak up about Rachel's Instagram deactivation was her fellow higher learning co-host Van Lathan, who lambasted fans of the Bachelor Nation for taking things so far. Talking to Instagram, he wrote, "Leave Rachael alone. This harassment is going too far. My co-host has zero today with the words of a grown-ass man who still doesn't get it. At Chris B. Harrison, are you okay with people getting at Rachael to the point where she can't even exist on Instagram? Is anyone from the entire Bachelor Nation going to stand up and condemn this harassment of a black woman? Yo, it's just a TV show. Y'all need to relax for real." And with his stance, the floodgates appeared to open, with other various stars from the Bachelor Nation coming out to condemn the harassment of Lindsay and ask fans to think before they post anything hateful. Becca Kufrin, for example, who co-hosts Bachelor Happy Hour with Lindsay, responded by saying that the harassment, cruelty, and racism launched against Lindsay was a major issue that should never be considered okay. Nick Viall then served up some juicy advice to fans of Chris Harrison. In a statement made on his Instagram story, Viall said, "Chris Harrison is in the same position because of what he said, not because of anything Rachael did. If you want to support Chris while he is down, you should be able to do that without showing hate to anyone else." But by far, the best comment came from Rachael Kirkconnell herself, who applauded Lindsay via Instagram saying, "You have the opportunity to make a positive difference. Use your energy towards change and come together and realize what's right in a time like this. If you're choosing to rather spread hate, to send cruel and vicious messages, to be mad about people being hurt by racism, do better, be better. She does not deserve the hate she is receiving." What do you think about the entire situation? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below. And remember to subscribe to stay up to date as the drama continues on.